Hello, Annie. Nice to see you.
Hello, Miss Letty. Hello, Boss Alan.
Hello, Alan. Nice to see you again.
Hello, Miss Letty. Thank you very much.
Right. So we are going to do now our book, which we are following. Each week we read a chapter from this book, which is called Jane Eyre. And the author is Charlotte Bronte. So I don't know if this is actually a picture of her, but it does show you the way people used to dress at that time when she lived and she wrote her stories. It's a very traditional book, and at school in England, lots of people read this book as part of the literature exam. So this is one of the reasons I chose it, because it's a classic. So Alan, would you be so kind to read what's on the screen? A novel.
Okay. Okay. A novel of intense power and intrigue. Jane Eyre has dazzled generations of readers with its portrait of a woman's quest for freedom. Having grown up as an orphan in the home of her cruel aunt and at a harsh charity school, Jane Eyre becomes an independent and spirited survivor, qualities that serve her well as governess at Thornfield Hall.
Right. So without us realizing, sometimes novels have hidden meanings and they are written with certain goals in mind. So it's interesting if someone has time to look on Google or on the internet and read about when this was written and what they were trying to say. Right, there's only a few words I think that need a little explanation maybe. A woman's quest for freedom. This is her goal, what she's trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Also, cruel is someone who is evil and unkind. And harsh could be taken as difficult, inhuman, something not pleasant at all. And a governess was at that time a teacher who used to live in a nobleman's house or in a rich man's house, giving classes to their children. So now we will do the chapter for today, which is chapter 5. And Annie will be so kind to start to read.
Okay, chapter 5, Fire. It was March. One night, I was in bed, but I was not asleep. The house was quiet. Suddenly, I heard a sound in the corridor outside my room. Who's there? I said. Nobody answered. Then I heard a strange laugh. I got out of my bed and I went quietly to the door. I listened. I heard another sound. Somebody was walking up the stairs to the top corridor. Then I heard somebody push a door. Was that Grace Poole? I said to myself. Yes, it was Grace. Why was she laughing? And why is she walking in the house at night? Is she mad? I must tell Mrs. Fairfax about this. I will speak to her now. I put on some clothes and I opened the door. There was a candle on the floor outside my room. The candle was burning.
So we have to imagine the time when this was written. So maybe there was no electricity. So people used candles. And also we're trying to have some intrigue. We don't know what's going to happen next. So we have to pay attention. Off you go, Alan.
There was thick smoke in the corridor. I went into the corridor. I looked around me. The door of Mr. Rochester's bedroom was open, and the smoke was coming from Mr. Rochester's room.
Right. Now, here in a picture, Alan, could you describe this in any way, what we can see in the picture?
Well, this is a typical of their only means of lighting, as you said, in those days, was a candle. And this is a typical candle holder, if you like. And you can see it's got a sort of a tray to catch any spilt candle wax. As the candle burns down, it produces droplets of candle wax, which I usually collect on that rim immediately at the bottom of the candle, but any overspill drops into the tray below. But it's also a means of being able to safely position the candle holder on a shelf or somewhere where it won't fall over. So this is a sort of you can carry around. You can see there's a handle there. You can hold it in your hand and walk around to illuminate the way you wherever you're walking. The candle will illuminate the area where you're walking.
Right. Also, Alan, I'm looking here. Maybe, I don't know, but this could be, I've seen shapes like this. And then when they want to put the candle out, they take hold of it. It's like a metal cap, and they would put it on top of the flame to put the candle out. So not to burn your fingertips, they would take this metal cap. As you can see, it's here. And you would put it on top of the flame, and it would go out. And here, Alan was describing the wax, which falls down the candle, and to stop burning something or disfiguring something, it would fall into the tray. So thank you very much, Alan, for that help. Now, wow.
Ooh.
We have 2 pictures here. What can you see in this picture, Anney?
A guy lying down, sleeping, maybe, and a woman. What? I don't know. What is she does? I didn't get it.
Well, we can imagine, no? So this we could imagine is Mr. Rochester. Mr. Rochester, and as you said, he's lying on the bed from what we can see in the picture. And we presume that this is Jane Eyre running into the room. And this is the fire here, which we can't see very well in this picture, but we can presume. And this is the smoke. This is the smoke. So she ran into the room, and this is what she found when she was in the room. And maybe he was sleeping, but maybe with the smoke, he's unconscious now. So we are only presuming. We don't know yet. So we are using our imagination. Now, Alan, let's see if you can help us here. What kind of bed can you see here?
It's a 4-poster bed.
Right.
They were only made back in those days, although you still can buy them today. Few and far between with fancy drapes, but this is typical of the bed back in those days.
Right, so it's called a 4-poster because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of wood, which are called posters. Also, you can see here not very well, but it's there, curtains, which if you really wanted, you could close the curtains around the bed. I don't know what, to keep it private, to make it dark. I have no idea because I didn't live at that time. So they were very typical in the 18th century, a 4-poster bed, but only in the middle class or the rich people's houses.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Not in our house, Alan, I don't think. So this would have helped also with the fire, because this is made of wood, this is made of material. So this wouldn't help. So, Alan, what is Jane saying to Mr. Rochester here?
Well, it's obviously she's not sure. He's not just simply sleeping because of the time of day, but she fears that he's passed out due to smoke inhalation, possibly. And of course, she's trying to wake him up. Wake up, sir. And she might get him to come out of this state of sleeplessness, I don't know, but she's obviously very concerned that this isn't just normal sleeping, that he's collapsed due to taking a lot of smoke and has possibly gone unconscious.
Right. Okay, Annie, this is another picture. What is she doing here?
Watering the man with water, right? And then to make it to make it conscious.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go back a little bit. This is a jug of water, which would have been in the room in the 18th century. This with a bowl underneath to wash your face in the morning or wash your face late at night. So they didn't have taps or anything like that. They would have had a jug of water, a bowl, and you would wash yourself early in the morning, late at night. So as she thinks he's unconscious, she threw the water over Mr. Rochester. Now, you said watering, Annie. Watering is when you do it to the plants. So when you pour water on plants, you water the plant. So she's not watering Mr. Rochester because he's not going to come up. So I'm only explaining this to our viewers so they take note. So we enjoy our mistakes and we laugh at our mistakes and we don't worry. So she's throwing, I think in this instance, throwing water over Mr. Rochester, and later on tonight, Annie, I will water my plants.
Miss Letty, what's the difference between jug and jar?
Right, I will try now because I have nothing physical. The jug has a handle and also maybe the size, and it's used for pouring. It's a utensil for pouring liquid from one place to another. Normally you wouldn't throw it. So you could have a jug of water or a jug of milk.
Ewer also, E-W-E-R, ewer is like an old-fashioned word for jug. Ewer.
Oh, right. I didn't know that, Alan, so I've learned something today. And a jar.
E-W-E-R, ewer.
Right, so I will have to write that down later. And a jar would be a glass container and maybe with a lid. And maybe you would put in jam or fruit or whatever you want, and you would close it with a lid, right? So one has a handle and it's used for pouring liquid from one place to another, and the other would be a jar, which is a container to keep things in.
What is the jug needle?
Porcelain.
Okay, it can be made of many things. Here in the 18th century, it would be porcelain, pottery. Yeah. Now you could have a jug of plastic if you wanted, because of the modern times, or you could have a jug of glass, a glass jug, right? But at that time they didn't have plastic, so it would be ceramic or pottery, okay? And it would break very easily. Now, Alan, you have the next picture. If you read the bubbles and then describe. Read this first, Alan. There.
What described the, oh, yes. There was a fire, sir. Grace Poole tried to kill you. But before that, of course, he's coming around from unconsciousness. And of course, he's still in a daze. And he's asking her, what happened, Jane? And of course, she replied, there was a fire, sir. Grace Poole tried to kill you. So they are alive, but only due to her diligence in waking him up and probably bringing him to safety afterwards, I would think. Getting him out of the room, away from the smoke, into the fresh air.
So thanks to Jane, Mr. Rochester lived. And as you said, as she moved very quickly when she realized what was happening, she was able to save him with the water jug. Right, Annie, off you go.
Oh, I forgot. I sat in a chair by the window. Time passed. At last, Mr. Rochester returns. Please don't worry, Jane, he said. Grace Poole is a string woman, but she won't hurt anybody tonight. I stood up. Good night, sir, I said. Mr. Rochester held my hand. He looked at me and he smiled. Thank you, my dear friend, he said. You saved my life tonight, Jane. Good night, sir, I said again. I went back to my bed. I was very tired, but at first I could not sleep. Suddenly, I understood something. I loved Mr. Rochester. He had smiled at me. He had held my hand. Did he love me? I did not know, but I thought about Mr. Rochester for a long time. Oh my goodness.
Right. So I think that Jane has these feelings because he's one of the first person who is kind to her. So this is why. Right, Alan, you're the next one, the picture and the bubble.
Stay here, Jane. Open the window. I'll go upstairs. So yes,
Right.
he's obviously, now that he knows the situation, he wants to get rid of the smoke, and he's asked Jane to open the window wide to get rid of the smoke.
Right. Now, another question, Alan. What is he wearing here?
A dressing gown. Well, I would call it a dressing gown. Yes, it is a dressing gown. No doubt about that. That's something you put over your night clothes or your pajamas or whatever you wear to make yourself look respectable, as they would say back in those days.
Yeah.
So if you're wearing your dressing gown, you're quite respectable and you can meet people without feeling embarrassed.
Right. So as you said, normally underneath we would use our pajamas or our night clothes. Women would wear something similar, but more feminine and maybe with different colors. So it was used so you were respectable of people around you, and also maybe to keep you warm, because at this time it would have been very cold in the houses, right? So this is a normal thing to put on if you were getting out of bed and going to the bathroom, or maybe as the time went by, people would sit in the night, what would you call this again, Alan? Sorry, what was this called?
Dressing gown, robe.
Dressing gown.
Robe.
In the dressing gown, maybe you would sit.
Robe, R-O-B-E, robe.
Yes, but dressing gown I think is normal, no? And people would sit maybe in the living room watching the television in their dressing gown, for example. Right, Annie, off you go.
Yeah, this is Alan's turn.
It's Alan's turn. Off you go, Alan. No problem.
I did not see Mr. Rochester the next day. He did not send for me. In the evening, I went down to see Mrs. Fairfax's sitting room. The housekeeper was looking out of the window. The weather had been good today, Mrs. Fairfax said. Mr. Rochester had a good day for his journey. His journey? Where has he gone? I asked. I was surprised. He has gone to Ingram Park, Mrs. Fairfax replied. Mr. Rochester will stay there for a week or more. He has many friends. All his friends will be in Ingram Park this week. Will there be any ladies at Ingram Park? I asked. Yes, Mrs. Fairfax said. There will be many ladies there. Miss Blanche Ingram will be there. Mr. Rochester has known her for many years.
Oh, there are many ladies.
Right, Annie.
Is Miss Ingram beautiful? I asked. She is very beautiful, Mr. Fairfax said. Will Mr. Rochester marry her? I asked. Mrs. Fairfax smiled. I don't know, Miss Eyre, she replied. I don't know. I was very unhappy. I went up to my bedroom. I looked in my mirror. Jane Eyre, I said to myself, you are not pretty. And you are poor. Mr. Rochester will never marry you. He will marry Miss Blanche Ingram. She is a rich lady. You are a poor governess. Forget Mr. Rochester, Jane Eyre. Forget him. That's funny.
Right. So we remember the moment we are reading the book from, which is the 18th century. And if you watch a film or read a book, you will realize something, that people married for money. People married for
Oh.
convenience, for power, for position, or for money. And it was very unusual for someone to marry from below somebody else. So for a moment, Jane forgot about this. For a moment, she was memorized by Mr. Rochester, and she was in a romantic moment thinking, oh, how much she liked him because he was kind to her. But Mr. Rochester, it seems he's looking at someone his own position or rank and with money also. So I have watched a few series on the television, and you will see the way they plan to marry people off because of power, money, or position.
Mm.
So this is another thing we need to take into consideration. And we always think, poor Jane, the life she has led, the little happiness she had for a moment is dashed by this information about Mr. Rochester. So guys, we're going to say toodaloo for today, and then we will back next week to read another chapter to see what happens to our Jane. Toodaloo.
Okay, bye.